This is a recording of the Cloud Integration Hub as it was presented and demonstrated at the roundtable sessions at Informatica World 2016. In this recording, we'll be doing a short slide presentation to introduce the concept of the Cloud Integration Hub, and then we will be doing a product demonstration as well. What we're looking at this slide is a typical architecture diagram of various applications within an enterprise. Most organizations, when they were deciding to invest in their best-of-breed on-prem applications to meet their business needs, these on-prem applications did need to exchange data between the various systems. And the decision to do the data integration was done more at a project level than at an enterprise level. So what really we ended up with is a spaghetti of point-to-point connections to exchange data between various on-prem applications. And we really don't have to state what the challenges are of managing and maintaining such an architecture. Just looking at the picture, it's pretty obvious. Now, organizations are starting to invest in cloud applications for very good reasons, right? And most organizations are just in the process of defining the cloud strategy. Now, even when we are investing in cloud applications, these are still applications that need to meet business needs. And these applications do need to exchange data between them. So the Cloud Integration Hub really is an attempt at saying that rather than going down the same path of point-to-point connections that has happened on the on-prem applications, rather than going down that same path, the time is now to invest in an architecture that prevents that from happening, more of a decoupled architecture where you have a hub in between that is responsible for the movement of data, and systems are decoupled from each other, and we are to avoid that point-to-point connections and easy to manage and maintain a system. So with that said, what is a Cloud Integration Hub? The Cloud Integration Hub it sits in the center of the enterprise of your various cloud applications. Your cloud applications would either have data to provide to the hub or publish to the hub. That data is then persisted in the hub, and then you have other applications that need to subscribe to that data from the hub at any latency whenever they wish to. So for example, a Salesforce could contain information about accounts and campaigns. That information is updated periodically in Salesforce. And whenever that information is updated, it is published out to the Cloud Integration Hub. That data would get persisted. And then maybe on the other side, a system like Marketo could say, I need this information as soon as possible. So it could subscribe to that information about accounts and campaigns as soon as it is made available. But on the other side, you could have a data warehouse in Azure that says, I just need this information at the end of the week for analytics purposes. So they could subscribe to that same information at the end of the week. So really what needs to happen is that until all downstream systems have successfully consumed the data, that data needs to be persisted in the Cloud Integration Hub. But once every application has consumed it, the data may not be necessary anymore, so we can get rid of it. Now what we are essentially talking about here is the movement of data from a source application like Salesforce to the Cloud Integration Hub. And then again, for subscriptions, we're talking about moving the data from the Cloud Integration Hub to a Marketo or to an Azure. So really, the engine that handles the movement of data from these various systems to the hub and from the hub to the downstream systems is Informatica's Cloud Services Platform, which is the leading data integration platform in the cloud today. So these are some of the key capabilities of what the Cloud Integration Hub has to offer. In addition to that, one more capability is that at the time point of publication, so for example, if Salesforce contains information about contacts, and if information about contacts is being published out to the hub which downstream systems need to consume, if at the point of publication, if we apply rules to scrub the contact information or to cleanse anything or standardize any contact's name, address, phone number, and check them for validity and everything else, the data that lands in the hub would always be cleansed. So now any system can subscribe to that information. I could have one system or 10 systems subscribing to that information. They would always get cleansed data. So it gives you the data certification or the data quality firewall, as we like to call it, where you're applying all your cleansing rules in one place, and then various downstream systems can consume that information whenever they wish to. So what really is the architecture of the hub? Let's talk a little bit about that. In the current release, that is in release R25, releasing in July 2016, the Cloud Integration Hub will be entirely hosted on Informatica's platform. So the Cloud Integration Hub will be hosted on the Informatica Hosted Services platform. Even the persistence layer, so as we spoke about in the previous slide, that data needs to be persisted in the hub. That persistence layer will also be hosted by Informatica, and then that has an integration with the Informatica Cloud Services platform. So the first release, R25, coming in July 2016, there is really no need to install anything, not even a secure agent needs to be installed on-prem. All you have is a browser and a login, and you can go in and start configuring your applications. But what this also does is the current release will limit you to integration only between cloud applications. So if you're talking about a scenario where I have a Salesforce that needs to publish data, and that some of that I could have multiple cloud applications subscribing to that, but on the other hand, if I also want an on-prem database or something that needs to subscribe to that, that will not be possible in the first release. That's something we're going to be introducing in the next release coming in a few months. What we're also going to be introducing in the next release coming in a few months is the ability to host your own publication repository. So what we mean by that is that the persistence layer of the hub right now in the first release is going to be located on the Informatica Cloud Services platform, but many customers may not feel comfortable persisting their data in the Informatica Cloud Services platform. They may prefer to persist the data on-prem on their own platform. So we are going to be introducing that option as well. And then that would also require the use of the Informatica Secure Agent to be downloaded. So essentially, architecturally, the Cloud Integration Hub can be offered in two ways. One, entirely hosted by Informatica, nothing to install on your side, not even the Secure Agent. Option two, bring your own publication repository and then store the metadata in the Informatica Cloud Services platform, let the execution happen on-prem. So this is the architecture and layout of what the Cloud Integration Hub is. With that, let's get into a product demonstration. Before I do the demonstration, I just want to give you some context around the use case that we are going to be covering over here. So in this particular scenario, we have various cloud applications that are connected to the Cloud Integration Hub. What we're going to be showing you is that we have Workday that contains information about employees, and that information is periodically published out to the Cloud Integration Hub. We also have Salesforce that contains information about accounts and campaigns, and that information about accounts and campaigns is also periodically published to the Cloud Integration Hub. Now on the other side, we have an Azure SQL data warehouse that needs to consume information about campaigns. But really it says, the information about campaigns that's being published out from Salesforce could be published out on an hourly basis. As a data warehouse, I just need to consume that information at the end of the day. So I don't care how frequently it's being published out. I just need to consume this information at the end of the day, and that's it. However, we do have Marketo that says I need to consume information about accounts and campaigns as soon as it is made available. So what we're talking about here is two scenarios. Salesforce publishing accounts and campaigns every hour. Azure saying I just need this information about campaigns at the end of the day. But Marketo saying I need both as soon as it is made available. And then on the other side, we have Tableau that also needs to subscribe to information about campaigns. So this is the use case that we're going to be demonstrating. With that, we're going to go into the product demonstration. Before I proceed, as I had stated that we are based off the Informatica Cloud Services platform. So Cloud Integration Hub uses the Informatica Cloud Services platform as its engine for execution and to move data as part of publications and subscriptions. What that allows us to do is that we can now pretty much leverage any connector that's available in the Informatica Cloud Services platform. So on this web page, which is a publicly available web page, here is a very comprehensive list of all connectors, which you can even search and look up. So if you have any questions about what connectors are supported, you can just take a look at this web page. The URL is over here, and you can even search and look for your specific connectors. Most of the common cloud connectors are available on the Cloud Integration Hub. So with that said, let's now get into the demonstration. So what we are looking at over here is the Cloud Integration Hub Operation Console. And as I said, this is hosted on the Informatica Cloud Services platform. So I'm going to go ahead and log it. And security is based, so if you already have, if you're already leveraging the security in the Informatica Cloud Services platform, organizations and users and passwords, all of that is based on the ICS platform. So it is completely, you can leverage what's already there if you're using it. So with that said, now I'm in the Cloud Integration Hub console. The first thing I've got to do is, before I set up, as we saw on the slide, we had Salesforce and Marketo and Salesforce publishing accounts and campaigns and all of that. Before I even connect Salesforce or anything else to it, I first need to define that central persistence area. So I need to define what is an account, what is a campaign, what is an employee. I need to define that first before I proceed with anything else. So to define that central subject area, the terminology that we use is called topics. So in the Cloud Integration Hub console, I'm going to go to the section called topics. That gives you a list of available topics. I can come in over here, create a new topic, and let's call it campaign. So I'm going to walk you through an example of defining the campaign topic. Now it says what is the topic type, delta or full. This really is an indicator. So, once you define the topic, we're going to have applications publishing to the hub and applications subscribing, multiple applications subscribing from the hub. So this is an indicator to the subscribers, telling the subscribers what to expect, whether you're getting a delta load or a full load. And then based off that indicator, each subscriber can decide how they want to prepare their subscriptions, either by doing a truncate or an append to their site or whatever else. So really, this is what it is it's an indicator, whether it's a delta or a full load. The next step is we've got to define the structure of the topic. Now, before we define the structure of topic, there are multiple patterns that come into play while defining a topic. The most common pattern, of course, is defining the topic to be your central canonical definition. So as we said, this is the hub, this topic sits in between, it sits in the hub, and then applications publish to it and subscribe from it. So regardless of whether it's campaign data, whatever, if I'm defining campaign data, I do not want to go into Salesforce to see what the campaign layout is, or I do not want to go into Marketo to see what the campaign layout is. We can take a step back. Let's define what the definition of a campaign or what the definition of a contact or an account is. And we can define that over here. And then various applications would publish to it. So they would have to map into this topic structure, and then subscribers would have to map out of this topic structure to their downstream formats. The other pattern is that what we've typically seen is that organizations prefer to use the Cloud Integration Hub as a way of offloading processing from the source applications. So for example, if I have 20 downstream systems that need the similar data from Workday, rather than if you go and try to hit Workday directly, you could run into limitations with their API calls, you could run into performance issues and things like that. So really one way is to just replicate a topic, could just replicate the source definition, be an exact replica of what the source definition is, and then your Workday or Salesforce could publish to that topic, And then whoever needs to subscribe can now subscribe from the Cloud Integration Hub topics versus going to the Workday or the Salesforce applications directly, and that will save the penalty of having to kind of make multiple API calls and things like that. So these are the different types of patterns that come into play. So with that said, to define the structure, really what I would do is I would come in over here, hit on the add tables, and I can either come in over here and create and define my central structure, or if I already have the model defined in a CSV file or something, I can go over here, I can say from files, and then we can navigate on to that location where we had that file modeled. So I can, here I'm pulling in a CSV file that contains a structure that I would want to use for the campaign topic. So I go ahead, bring that in, and now it says here's my topic structure. These are the different fields in my topic structure. So I have the ID, the name, and things like that. So this is what my topic structure looks like. The next step is I've got to define a data retention period. So as we said, applications publish to this and applications multiple subscribe from this. Now, once everyone has successfully consumed the data, we may not need to keep it around anymore. We can get rid of it. So, but we will still want to keep it around for a few days before getting rid of it. So I can come in here and choose for how long I want to retain my data before getting rid of it. So that's a self-managed persistence. And now when I hit finish, it's going to define that topic for me in the Cloud Integration Hub. Now, once that topic has been defined, now I can start bringing in applications that would publish data to the Cloud Integration Hub and then applications that would subscribe. So what we're talking about over here is, let's now talk about Salesforce, right? So as we said in our slide, Salesforce contains information about accounts and campaigns, and that needs to be published to the Cloud Integration Hub. So really what we have, when we talk about a publication, we're talking about creating a mapping in the Informatica Cloud Service that moves data from Salesforce to the Cloud Integration Hub. So to build the mapping, we now go into the Informatica Cloud Services platform. Out here, I have already configured connections to Salesforce and Azure and everything. So we have connections, everything is good. So now I've got to define that mapping. So I come over here, I set up what we call a data synchronization task. And then, we create a new mapping. And now once I define the mapping, I've got to specify what the source is. So in our case, the source is Salesforce. We're looking to extract data from Salesforce. So I choose the Salesforce option, and Salesforce is going to publish. So I can, in Salesforce, I'm looking to extract data, in this case, from the campaign object. So I'll pull the campaign object here. Keep in mind that we can also pull from multiple objects. If the data is not in just a single object of Salesforce, we can pull from multiple objects. But anyways, I'm going to choose the campaign object. The next, we are going to publish data to the Cloud Integration Hub. So out here, I have this entry called Cloud Integration Hub, so that this ties in to what the previous screen, that is the Cloud Integration Hub screen. I point to that. Here are a list of available topics, and how do we get to this? Because these are the topics that are defined in the Cloud Integration Hub. You can see the same list of topics over here. So I say I'm going to publish to the campaign topic. So I select that. Next is we've got to define data filters. So what this could mean is, let's say that I'm publishing information from Salesforce on an hourly basis. And now I just need to detect every hour, I just need to detect the changes that happened in the last run hour from the time of last run, and just publish out those changes. So I don't want to publish every record every time. I just want to publish the changes on an hourly basis, right? So to do that, we could come in over here, add a filter, and then I can say based on the campaign object, and the campaign object has a last modified date, and where that is greater than. And now what we do is we have an internal variable that keeps track of the last run of this mapping. So all I have to do is specify that variable over here, last run time. So essentially what I'm telling it is that anything that was modified in the campaign object from the time this was last run, I need to extract only those records out. Now we can add more filters too. We are not just limited to this. So we can add a filter like only filter information about customers in the US or whatever. You can add as many more filter conditions as you want to. The next is we've got to do a mapping exercise. So here on the left hand side, this is the Salesforce object. On the right hand side, this is my campaign topic, and I've got to map from source from Salesforce to the campaign topic. So to do that, we can either, if most of the field names match, we can do an auto map. Otherwise, it's a drag and drop mapping exercise as well. And then in some scenarios where it is just not a simple field to field mapping, you can also apply expressions like concatenation strings and everything. So for those of you with familiar with Power Center, this screen should be very familiar, where I have all the functions. I can concatenate strings, split strings, pad strings, do date time conversions, things like that. So all the functions are available for use over here. You can also do a lookup or translation. So for example, if I get like a 2-digit code that's coming from my source, and before I publish it, I want to kind of translate that 2-digit code into something, into its actual description. And if that description is available in a table somewhere, I could go out and do a lookup against it to get those changes. But the main thing here is the mapping. From the left is the source, on the right is the topic, map from field to field, either auto match or drag drop map. Once this is done, I can hit save. And when we hit save, it is going to define a publication mapping. Now we can come back into the Data Integration Hub, go to the section called Applications, and under Applications, we can create a new application, right? And call it Salesforce. So I already have that application created. I'm just going to call it SFDC. Then I have the Publications tab or the Subscription tab. Salesforce is looking to publish data. So about campaigns, so I go to the Publications tab. And in the Publications, so I can create this. And then, so now I can come to the Publications tab. And in the Publications tab, I can, now I get to a wizard. I can define my publications. So I can say, so I can say pub, I can define it out here and say, all right, and then I'm publishing it on to the campaigns topic. Now when we go next, it asks me to reference a mapping. So now whatever mappings are built in the Informatica Cloud Service, right, I can see that in the drop down over here. These are the same mappings that I can see in the drop down. I'll go and reference the mapping that I'm interested. So the mapping that we just built to extract from Salesforce and load it to the hub, I can go reference that mapping over here. The next is we can schedule it to run every frequently, either on an hourly basis or on a daily basis or whatever else. We can choose to also run this manually, so we can have someone orchestrate it externally. Now when we hit finish, it's going to define that publication process. Now to walk through how subscriptions are created, really the steps are the same. So we would go into ICS and create a mapping from we would basically flip things around where the source would be the Cloud Integration Hub and the target would be your downstream applications, whether it's Marketo, Azure, or anything else. Okay. Another quick point to make about mappings, we walked through a very simple example over here where we said that, if the last date is so and so, then I just kind of throw in a filter over there. There might be complex scenarios where maybe that last modified date is not captured in the source, and I need to do like some kind of my own delta detection logic, or I need to do something more complex. I need to join data from multiple sources, or I need to write data to multiple targets and things like that. So you also have the flexibility to create your own complex map. So to do that, we go into the section called Design Mappings. And now for those of you all familiar with Power Center, this should pretty much look familiar, where I have most of the Power Center objects available to me. And now, I can essentially take data, I can aggregate them, I can apply expressions, I can join data, I can take two sources and I can join information between them, things like that. And then once I save this, I can, as before, I can come back and as we walk through the publications, I can kind of set and reference that publication as we did before. Subscriptions, really the same process, as we said, flipping around. The one key thing that I did want to cover for subscriptions is, and let's quickly go ahead and bring one example up over here very quickly. So the one key thing that we did want to cover about subscriptions is that most of the steps here are the same, but when it comes to scheduling, you can say I want to schedule as soon as the data is made available, or I want to control the schedule manually, or I can say that I want to subscribe to this daily at 11 p.m. Now let's say like let's talk about this scenario. So we want to subscribe daily at 11 p.m. Now consider the scenario that Salesforce could be publishing information every hour, and then at 11 p.m. the subscription kicks in. So at 11 p.m. it's got to go back and consume all the pending publications from the previous day. So probably if Salesforce is publishing on an hourly basis, there are probably 24 pending publications that are available for Marketo to consume. The question is, how do you want to consume that? Do you want to consume that in sequence of all available publications? So in the same sequence, like the first publication, there were 100 records, the second there were 200, and the third there were 100 that were changed. So I just want to capture it in that exact same sequence. I choose the all available publications option. The other option is, let's say I don't care to capture it in sequence. All that I want to do is, if there were 10,000 records that were changed from the last time I read this, just give me all the 10,000 records in one execution. And maybe in that execution, I may even want to do some grouping by any particular attribute. So for example, if I'm publishing employee data, and if I have employee A that was updated at 9 a.m., updated again at 10 a.m., updated again at 11 a.m., but not updated since 11 a.m., or not from the last publication, I want to go back and I just want one aggregated record for that employee with the latest change. So I can choose the aggregated option and then write logic to kind of get only the that one particular record or the latest record. The other option is to do the latest publication only. What this does is it just subscribes to the latest data set, and that's it. So that's what we wanted to cover for publications and subscriptions. Now, in a real world, when you go in, this can get what you're seeing as a demo system, but in the real world, you could see a lot of topics, a lot of publications going back and forth. So what we have here is a relationship viewer, which tells you that these are the number of applications, topics, subscriptions, and publications that are available in the system. If I'm interested in a particular topic or any other particular application for that matter, I can come hover over that, and notice that as I hover over campaigns, under the applications, Marketo, Tableau, and Salesforce lit up, and then publication mapping something lit up, and the subscription mapping something lit up. So what this is telling me is that these are the different objects that are attributes that are tied to the campaigns topic. And now if I click on it, I can go back and see a link over here. What this is telling me is that I have Salesforce, that is the only application that's publishing data to the campaigns topic. And then I have three applications, Marketo, Azure, and Tableau, that are subscribing to that information. So you get the graphical view into who's publishing and who's subscribing and things like that. So now if we come back here, what we can do next is let's just go ahead, and for the sake of testing, or for the purpose of the demonstration, let's go ahead and start off a campaigns publication, and let's go ahead and start off an accounts publication. Now by clicking play, if I want to figure out what exactly happened over here. So to do that, we can drill down, pull up a list of events. What this is telling me is that the campaigns that I just started off to at this time, so it's showing me both the events. But if we go back in time, it says here are all the events that have occurred. Now notice over here, it says complete. So I'm just going to go back in time. It says for this event that happened at 23:45, the event status is complete. What that means is that the publication process was successful, and all the records that we were interested in publishing out got successfully published out and made its way to the hub. But now if I notice the status of error, what does that mean? What that is telling me is that I have one or more applications that are in a failed state. If we want to figure out what those applications are that are in a failed state, we can come over here to the event, drill down. So what this is now telling me is that I have 2 subscribers to this accounts topic. I have a Tableau and an Azure SQL data warehouse. Looks like the Tableau was complete, but the data warehouse was failed. And now if I need to get information on what has failed, I click on the event and I have the session logs here right in front of me, which we can investigate into why it failed. So the reason why this particular screen is important is that in a real world, you're not just going to have 2 subscriptions, you're probably going to have 5 or 10 subscriptions. And then this is a way of keeping track. Let's say you have 10 subscriptions, 6 succeeded, 4 failed. Straight away it would tell you on the console that the consumption status is error. You can then drill down and you can see what has failed. And once you know what the problem, you have fixed it, you can go back and replay the subscription only for the one that has failed without impacting the others. So now it says this is processing because I hit the reprocess button. Now, of course, when this finishes processing, it's going to fail again because I really have not done anything to fix that particular error. But the point here was to talk about the ability to replay subscriptions only for the ones that failed without impacting the ones that succeeded. If we go back to a list of events, what we're going to see over here is that there was one that is in a final state. What that means is that all the subscriptions associated with this are, let's come back here and let's pull it from all. So yeah, for the ones that if I drill down into this, all of these, for when it said consumption status final, what that means is that every subscriber has successfully consumed the data. So in my topic definition, when I had set that condition to purge after 7 days, it will kick in only when for the events that are in a final state. So for the events that are in an error state, that will not kick in. The purging will not kick in even if it is greater than 7 days, because in this case it's in the state that's waiting to be fixed. So now let's quickly talk a little bit about monitors. So, the one underlying assumption in what I've shown you so far when I was kind of talking about errors, where I click in, I see an error, then I can drill down and I can see which application succeed or fail. The underlying assumption there is, of course, I'm waiting for an operator to sit in front of the console to wait for these errors to happen. That's impossible in a real world scenario. In a real world scenario, you probably want a notification or you want some way to get notified to know if something failed. So what we can do is we can set up monitors. I can create a monitor and where I can say that for either a publication or a subscription, and either all or certain specific ones, when the status is in an error state, then I want to send an email to a group of users. But in addition to sending the email, there's another scenario to consider over here. So I spoke about being able to reprocess subscriptions once I go fix the problem. Let's say it takes me 4 hours to fix the problem, and now Salesforce is publishing data every 1 hour. All of a sudden, you end up with a backlog of failed subscriptions. That's something you may want to avoid. So I can also set a monitor to say that the first time an error occurs in a publication or subscription, so I can come, as I said, I'll come back OS, I can say look for the error status. I can say first time the error that occurs in the publication or subscription, disable it. So the first time an error happens, it will be disabled. Subsequent subscriptions will be in a pending state. We can go fix the problem. Once we have fixed the problem, I just go back and replay the one that failed and then re-enable it, and then all the other subscriptions would pick up and then start processing their specific data sets at their specific time. So these are really all the topics that we had to cover in the Cloud Integration Hub. If there are any questions, do feel free to reach out. My name is Amit Vaswani. Thank you.